Alrighty, boys. I've heard enough horror stories down in my comment sections from engineering students trying to land jobs in the big 2026. It feels like there's enough people saying now, well, I have a 4.0 GPA and I can't get any interviews. Or, I've applied to 500 jobs and nobody has even called me back yet. There's definitely people feeling like nothing works anymore. Now, I don't have some magic potion that's going to guarantee you to get hired, but I can tell you exactly what's worked for me. If you want to steal a few of these tactics and apply them to your own job search, knock yourself out, man. In this video, I'm going to give you a ton of good options. We have to navigate a world now where the reality is that companies have more applicants than ever before. I think this is because AI has made it possible for thousands of people to apply for the same position in a matter of minutes. You guys have seen those LinkedIn jobs where it shows like, oh, it's got 1,000 applicants. That is crazy. But yeah, I've seen them too. It's ridiculous. And recruiters, I feel like, are just spending less time looking at each individual resume than they have ever before. But I'm going to bring you some good news here, and I'm going to go out on a whim and say that getting hired as an engineer is still very achievable. In fact, I'd argue that engineering is still one of the best career paths that you can choose, and I've made that case in a few videos about this already. I'm telling you, companies still need electrical engineers, they need mechanical engineers, chemicals, civil, software engineers, you name it. There are incredible opportunities out there with six-figure salaries and very interesting work. The problem is that universities spend 4 years teaching you how to become an engineer, but almost none of them teach you how to actually get hired as one, which is so funny to me. And it is ridiculous if you ask me. I've now been through the hiring process a couple times, interviewing for engineering roles myself, and now working alongside hiring managers at college career fairs, which has honestly been a pretty cool experience if you ask me, because now I went from being hired to doing the hiring on the other side of the table. And I've mentored engineering interns and co ops throughout my short career so far. Looking back at all those experiences that I just listed off, there are a couple, maybe just a handful of things that consistently separate the people who get interviews from the people who are those that send out 200 job applications and never hear back. So, what I'm going to do here is walk you through exactly what I would do if I was back in school in you guys' shoes. And if I were trying to land either, let's say, my first engineering job, or I could even go and say, you know what, I'm a freshman, and what would I do to land my first internship? I want to tell you my strategies that I think are going to make the biggest difference here. And I think a few of them are going to surprise you. So, step number one to being an absolute Giga Chad and getting hired before all your friends is that I want you to stop trying to be the perfect candidate before you hit the apply button on a job. I see this one all the time. Someone looks at a job posting and immediately talks themselves out of it. They'll say, well, I've only had one internship and some of my other friends have three or four. Or this is a good one. My GPA is only like a 3.2 and I haven't led anybody. How am I going to get a job? Meanwhile, somebody else who checks maybe half of these boxes has already submitted their application and could be sitting in an interview next week. Job descriptions are wish list more often than not, and usually all those requirements that are on a job posting, they're not truly hard requirements. Trust me on this because I have been on the side of hiring, and we have hired people that did not check all of the boxes. Companies know that they aren't going to find someone who matches every single bullet point, especially for entry level roles. They're looking for someone they can believe can learn and someone who has potential to grow. Now, again, I like some discourse in the comments, so please let me know if I'm way in left field with this take or not. But I don't know. I've been on the other side, and I really want to hire people that have personalities and a balanced life, and people who really aren't afraid to go out of their comfort zone. People that might not be afraid to move to a new location for an internship. People that aren't afraid to have a good conversation with me at the career fair booth. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to get at here. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen people just reject themselves before a recruiter ever had the chance to do it themselves. If you could meet around, let's say, half to two-thirds of the job qualifications, I'd apply anyway to whatever job that you were looking at. Seriously, what's the worst that can happen? These companies tell you no? Brother, you're in the exact same position that you were in 5 minutes earlier. Just go apply for that job. If you don't apply, then you've pretty much locked in that you're going to get rejected from that job. I think way too many engineering students are so focused on avoiding the rejection that they end up avoiding opportunity instead. Now, that doesn't mean you should just go spam 1,000 job applications and hope something sticks and just blindly spray and pray. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes too people are making. If you are one of these people, then the problem probably isn't the number of applications that you're sending through. It's that every application looks exactly the same. You're sending the same resume to all these companies, regardless of whether it's an aerospace company, a defense company, oil company, consulting company. Recruiters can spot a generic resume from a mile away. If I could even spot one, then I sure as know that the hiring managers can spot one as well. So, long story short here, be willing to put your name out there, even if you don't meet all the qualifications, but be conscious about what companies you're applying for and be intentional about it so that you can stand out and give yourself the best shot. Even go spend an extra 15 or 20 minutes tailoring your resume to each of these individual roles that you're applying for. Rearrange your projects in your resume so that the most relevant ones are near the top. Move skills around to match what the company that you're applying for is actually looking for. Use some of the same terminology that could be in the job description. These little changes don't seem like much in the moment, but it's going to make it a whole lot easier for that recruiter when they were reviewing your resume to connect the dots. And here's something too that's helped me a lot early on. Don't just apply online and then disappear into the void. If there's a career fair, please go to it. If you could even find that recruiter or hiring manager that had the posting open in the first place, go send them a short message introducing yourself, or go figure out a way to meet them in person. If one of your professors has a connection at the company, ask them if they'd be willing to make an introduction for you. You'd be amazed at how much easier it is to get an interview when you're more than just another resume that could be sitting in a pile with 800 other applicants. So, enough of that. Let's jump to step two, to being an absolute Giga Chad and landing your first role out of college. And what I have to say about this is you have to do whatever it takes just to gain any experience on your resume. Preferably, that would be an internship because internships help so much with landing engineering jobs out of college. Use those skills that I just talked about for like the last 5 minutes. And before you seniors click off this video, when you're going to tell me in the comments that you have no internships, just stick around and hear me out here. The mistake I see people making is that they become obsessed with getting the perfect internship, kind of like obsessing over having the perfect resume, like I just talked about. People will think it's got to be SpaceX, Google, some other Fortune 500 company that everyone recognizes. They think that's the internship that's going to land them their job. Now, I'm not going to lie here, it does help having an internship with a big company, but you're not cooked if you don't. When I was in college, I was thinking, how do I get somebody to trust me enough and like me enough to give me a real engineering chance? I just need one shot, the one opportunity. Shout out to Eminem there. But because once you've worked in an actual engineering environment, everything will change for you. You know how projects work now. You've sat in the meetings, you've learned the corporate jargon, you've even worked with other engineers. You've actually seen what engineering looks like outside of a classroom, and that's huge. That experience is incredibly valuable, even if the company that you worked for, nobody's heard of yet. And if you're watching this thinking, well, shoot, I'm going to graduate soon and I never had an internship, don't panic. It's definitely harder for you now. I'm just going to be honest with you on that, but it's not game over. There are still engineering clubs that you can join. You have your senior design projects that you can talk about on your resume. Other jobs that don't have to be internships, you can put that on your resume. Even personal engineering projects that you might do on the side. That can give you something meaningful to talk about to a recruiter. There are a lot of different ways to show that you can be a key contributor to a company and solve problems other than just having an internship. Now, I do think the internship is the best way to do it, but I wanted to give ideas out there for those that may not have had landed an internship just yet. All right, here. Let's say everything worked. Your resume got noticed, a hiring manager reached out, and now you've got an interview on the calendar. This is where step 3 comes into place, and unfortunately, this is where choke city can happen. But I'm not going to let that happen for you guys. Interviewing takes a lot of inner calmness and hours of prep work, but it really boils down to how well you can prepare, and I'm here to give you a few steps. Have you ever heard of the STAR method? That's going to be the first thing these people are going to ask you in an interview, and that's basically for every answer that you have, name a situation, task, action, and result to that scenario. And don't sweat it if you aren't perfect the first time, because your goal should be to sound relatable to these people and sound like someone that these people that are interviewing you would actually want to work with for the next 10 years. Engineering is obviously technical, but it's also incredibly collaborative. You're going to be working with a whole bunch of people who want to know right off the bat, are you somebody who's easy to work with? Are you somebody who's willing to learn? Are you somebody that can communicate well? If you don't know the answer to a technical question, do not try to bluff or BS your way through it in the interview because people will see through this. Just say you don't know and explain how you'd go about figuring that problem out, but keep moving forward. I'd take somebody who's honest and curious over somebody who's confidently wrong every single day of the week, especially in an interview. One thing, too, that helps me a ton was treating interviews less like an interrogation and more like a conversation. Remember, you are going to be interviewing these guys just as much as they're interviewing you. Ask questions. Be curious about the job that you're interviewing for. And please, please, please do your research on the company beforehand because I've seen a lot of people look like idiots because they didn't do their research and then they're asking stupid questions about the company. Also, just make sure to ask what a normal day looks like working for this company. Ask what projects you would be on. Ask what separates the great engineers from the average ones. Those kinds of questions really show that you're actually thinking about the job and not just trying to survive this interview. And here's probably the biggest thing I want you to remember out of all of this. Don't get discouraged if you get rejected. I know that sounds cliche, but it's very true. Every interview is a practice, every rejection will teach you something, and every conversation makes you a little bit better for the next one. The only way you actually lose is if you throw in the towel and have a victim mentality at the end of the day. So if I had to boil this entire video down into one sentence, it would be this. Stop trying to look like the perfect engineering candidate and start proving that you'd be a great engineer to work with. Build experience wherever you can, tailor that resume and application to put yourself in the best position to get noticed, network with the people around you, and walk into every interview ready to have a good conversation. If you can do these things, you're going to put yourself in a position to win. Hopefully this video takes a little bit of the mystery out of the job search because I know how frustrating it can be. If you're in college right now or you're trying to break into engineering, I'd also love to hear where you're at down in the comments. What has been the hardest part of the job search for you? I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can because at the end of the day, I want to help you guys out. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because I've got a lot more videos coming on engineering, careers, investing, and building financial freedom. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.